thrills to ever have enough time to play at all. You know everybody wants to walk in someone else's shoes. Everyone's forgotten who they are. Such a grind.
Welcome back to Otter Creek in Rio Grande. If you've been with the channel for a while, you know that I have been kind of going back and forth with this area, which is Cloud City. And you know, it's still really not working for me. I've got to figure out exactly what I want to do with the yard. Optimally, I want 5 yard tracks on this side and then engine area on the other side. And one of the things that's kind of tripping me up at the moment is where the yard begins. It begins way down here. And the reason why, you know, is because I cut this turnout in so I could get to the E dabbler, the E carroll. So I've decided that, you know, if I want the length of the yard that I want, in order to get that, I'm going to remove this turnout and shift everything back. And I think I'm also going to go ahead and try to use number 6 turnouts instead of number 8s, just to see what that geometry does. And I'm going to try and do this in one day. Again, everything's temporary. I'm not looking to permanently affix anything. I'm just trying to get everything kind of generally laid out where I want it to. So I'm gonna work on this one day. My goal is one video as well. Everything you see in this video will take place in one day, and however it turns out is however it turns out. Now, before I get started moving any turnouts, I do want to show you something because it's part of what I'm going to do right now. What I've got here is a box from my good friend Steve Arnold, and he downsized his railroad and is changing everything. He's actually going from N scale to HO, and he had a bunch of stuff that he was willing to part with, and I think what's going to be in this box will help me with what I'm doing today. All right, I've got some trucks. These are 3'7" arch bar trucks, I believe. These are the old, I think, Grant line trucks. Ought to come in handy. Here's a track gauge. Redwood ties. That's interesting. I think he may have just given me those. I don't remember asking for those, but here we go. This is the real thing here. Actually, I don't know what's in here either. Let me see what this is. I'm thinking that it's not Rice Dreams, a non-dairy, low-calorie frozen dessert. Just, it's not cold, so guessing that's not what's in there. Oh, wow. Good night. It's a whole box of cross ties. Very cool. I wonder if those are... They look short to me, though. Maybe they're not. No, they look like they're the right length. Cool. Very cool. All right, now, this should be a bunch of number 6 turnouts. That looks like a number 8. Now, all of these, I believe, are not DCC ready. But the plan is I think I can go in and cut out the crossbar and then put in my own PCB tie. That's kind of the plan. I think that's a number 4. This one needs a little repair work. What is that? Is that a number 10? Oh. Let's see. Left hand, number 6. Right hand, number 6. These are all Shinohara. Right hand, right hand, right hand. So my thought is if I'm going to come off of the main line with this number left hand, number 6, and then should be able to get 2 tracks that are connected on both ends with these. If it all works the way I hope it does, it's just going to be a matter of changing out these cross ties. Really, I don't know. I'm going to have to look and see, because I'm not sure what'll happen if I don't do that today. Will I be able to run through, and will it cause problems as they sit at the moment? I'm going to have to do some testing before I make that decision. I've taken a look at everything, and I'm pretty sure I've got everything I need to do what I want. And I've also already kind of did a little testing with this turnout. And, you know, the whole thing with these turnouts is they're not DCC ready. And what I'm trying to do is get this to a point where I can use it with the minimal amount of work necessary. And so all I've done is I've gone in and I've cut an isolation gap so that my frog is now completely dead. So, you know, that means that these 2 tracks are not going to have any power, and I'm also going to be dependent on the outside rails, the stock rails, to carry power through the points up to where my isolation gap is. And I've already tested it. You know, I threw it up and kind of cobbled together some wiring, and my Blackstones ran through it just fine. And of course, my brass locomotives all have keep alives in them, so I shouldn't have any issues. I tested my yard switcher, and the only thing you can run into issue with your points carrying your power is that everything ends up being the same polarity as this stock rail. If you're touching here, that means even all of this point right here is also the same thing. So you could get a dead short between these 2 rails, but I did not experience that, so I'm pretty confident that it's going to work. The only issue is I'll need a snap thing here to kind of make sure, or something else to make sure that I get good contact here so I'm not dead from here to there. So I think that's going to work. Now, the other issue that I think I'm going to go ahead and deal with, and that's, you know, if these 2 rails coming out of here are dead, that means you're going to have to put power to them, you know, in the yard track somewhere in order to get juice back here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to nibble out the webbing on the stock rail, and I'm going to put a jumper wire from here to there, and then from here to there, if that makes sense. So as long as I've got juice going to my stock rails, I can get it into these rails, and that will carry juice, you know, throughout the yard without having to put a bunch of drops in there that I don't want to put in yet. As it stands right now, I've got power on the east end of the yard, and I've got power at the west end down where the E. Carroll mill supply is, and I'll kind of want to keep it that way, where I'm routing all of my power through the turnout, so I don't have to put in a bunch of drops yet. That makes it easy for me to kind of move things around in the area. So I'm going to get started on this, and we'll see how it goes. Got all of the jumper wires in. So the only thing I really have to do now is, I guess, put it together. I did try and create some over center springs, but this hole right here in the center of the throwout bar is so big that, I don't know. The wire that I want to use, which I think is like 0.22, I can't remember, it's too small for that huge hole. And if you put a hole in here that is the right size, then it's not really working the way I'd like it to. So I think I'm going to probably end up using nails or something. I don't know. The first thing I need to do is figure out, is the spacing going to work, as far as the track spacing, if I just butt these up against each other, because that's another issue that I didn't think about when I got started. They might not line up without having to put extra space in between the turnouts, and I'm not about to do that. You can see I've got the west ladder cut in, and all I did was remove the number 8s, and then the tracks I just slid this way. I've actually still got cars on them, so I think I'm gonna try and limp the 462 and get those cars off the track just to see if I can. In theory, I should have juice everywhere. So far, so good. The yard is pretty much complete, with the exception of anything going to the mill and mine company. And what I'm doing right now is I'm connecting the 2 arrival and departure tracks to this series of turnouts here, which is pretty much, has been the design feature for the railroad for a while. But I haven't had this dual gauge. I have. I built it quite a while ago, but I've just never taken the time to go ahead and install it. And so I'm taking care of that today. In the process of doing this, I did learn something. Microengineering rail joiners do not fit on Shinahair turnouts. And if you try very hard to get one of those micro-engineering rail joiners on, you're liable to put it all the way through your thumb. So luckily I did have some of these longer Walthers rail joiners that seem to work okay. Near as I can tell, I have pretty good connectivity everywhere, because most of my electricity at this point is coming through the rail joiners, because I'm deliberately not putting a lot of drops in at the moment. All right, it's not the best looking track work in the world, but you know, it's not necessarily supposed to be at this point. This is all about trying to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work. And you can see I put in some cork here, but these over center springs on these turnouts don't like to work very well on top of either wood or cork, because they drag, because you can't get them flush for sure on the bottom side of the PCB tie. So I tend to cut just a little bit of a relief in them so that they've got room to work back and forth. I don't know what's going on there. I bet my over center spring is causing problems, because I bet I forgot to gap the PCB ties on the bottom side where these over center springs are. That's something you kind of have to do if you're going to use over center springs on a PCB tie. You have to isolate the hole on both sides of the PCB tie. So now I know where to cut my reliefs in this, and when I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and flip those over and make sure that I don't have any issues with the over center springs. Looks like we're a go. The last thing I need to do before I clean up the huge mess that I've made is get from the bottom track here, which going back that way will be, for now, the icing track. And it will act as a lead into the E. Carroll Mill and Supply Company. And I think what that's going to look like at this point is a right hand number 8, because I now have a bunch of right hand number 8s just laying around, because I pretty much replaced all of my number 8s that I had in here with number 6s. As luck would have it, it looks like in order to keep from using too long sections of track, which I think would be wasteful, because I don't think I'll ever need any more track than what's here right now. I think I actually need a left-hand turnout instead of a right-hand. And I only have one left-hand turnout, and it's this one that's really kind of beat up. I guess it's now time to go ahead and test this. See if I can make it in to the E. Carroll Mill and Supply Company without derailments or losing power. Now what I'm going to do, I've ordered some of the Caboose Hobbies ground throws. So that's the plan kind of moving forward, is that I will put ground throws on all of these. Hopefully it will work. I've never used one of those to kind of know anything about them. And, you know, I don't know if I was clear about this or not, but I don't plan on using these turnouts in the final rendition of this yard. You know, Steve Arnold helped me out and said he had some of these. I got a good price for them. And knowing that a number 6 will work for my purposes is kind of half the battle, because I certainly saved a lot of time by having these already pre-made and kind of knowing whether or not they're going to work with minor modifications. So I think I'm still, a year or two out from it's probably going to derail. Still a year or two out. Yeah, that's a terrible turnout. I'm a year or two out from getting super serious about what's going to go on here in Cloud City. But once I get those ground throws in, I think the yard as it stands right now will be a lot better to work in than what it has, for sure. All right, I think it's all going to work. Let me clean up and kind of finish up with some final thoughts about this. Project complete. Now, in full transparency, it really took me 2 days to do what I did, primarily because the configuration of the Shinohara turnouts took a lot longer, and I also had some other issues that just needed to be dealt with. So it did take me longer than what I'd hoped, but I'm glad I did it nonetheless. So to kind of summarize what I've done is I removed 5 number 8 turnouts and replaced them with number 6s. And then I've added 2 more turnouts down at this end connecting the yard. So I kind of have a large runaround all together. So it's going to work much better. And I think I'm also going to mess around a little bit with how I'm operating it. In the past, I've used this top track up here as an arrival departure track, and this is an arrival departure track. These 2 tracks here. I think I'm going to try and do it with just one arrival departure, and that will keep this top track here that comes through here as my main line, and then this track kind of ends up being the yard lead, so I can do most of my switching, hopefully, from this end as trains come in and I start shuffling things around. At least that's the idea. I won't know for sure until I get started kind of messing around with those things. And as luck would have it, I believe the 482 is coming in right now with a whole train of reefers. Thanks for watching the Otter Creek and Rio Grande. We'll see you around.